Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm coming at you from a little bit different of a perspective today, and we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes that you don't want to make when you're selling your house in this market. I think this is a super important topic that all sellers should be considering right now as you're getting ready to go on the market. And we're going to get deep into it, so let's get started right now. Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Shaun Ramos and this is Living in Louisiana. If it's your first time to the channel, then welcome. But before we get going, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell because I'm putting out videos every week just like this one that are all about moving to and living in the Greater Baton Rouge area, and I don't want you to miss anything. In case you didn't know it, I am a licensed realtor in the state of Louisiana, and I want to be your resource for all things real estate related. So if you have any specific questions or needs when it comes to making a move in South Louisiana, don't hesitate to reach out. That's all of my contact info that's popping up on the bottom of your screen right now, and every single call, text, or email is replied to directly by me. So if there's anything at all that I can help you with, I would love to do it. Okay, so let's get right into it. So a question I'm getting a lot these days is this a good time to sell a house? I don't know when you're going to be watching this video, but right now we're kind of come out of that super hot market and things are just a little more stabilized now. We're getting into more of a normal market. There are definitely more houses to choose from and the interest rates are definitely higher. But even with that being said, I still think this is a good time to sell your house, and it can still be done if you go about it the right way. Even in that super hot market when houses were selling for full ask price, if not more, and they were selling really fast, not every single house sold. There were sellers out there that made certain mistakes that had their house sit on the market even when everything else was selling. So let's talk about some of these mistakes and get into detail so that you can avoid them when you sell your house. First mistake you want to avoid, and to me it's the most important piece of the whole puzzle, is overpricing the house. Even in that red hot market when everything was selling at full ask price, if not over asking, sellers and realtors were pushing the list prices because they knew people were going to pay it. But you could reach a point where you would push it too much and people wouldn't even come see the house because they knew they were going to have to pay your price, if not more, and it got to the point where it's not even worth it. But now there's more inventory and the interest rates are up, the pricing is more important now than ever. When a buyer sees your house online, if they don't see some perceived value there, they're not even going to waste their time coming to see it in person. So no, you don't want to leave money on the table by pricing the house too low, but you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by pricing it so high that we can't get people through the door. I've had this conversation with sellers many times over the years where when I show them the data and show them what the market says the house should be worth, and then I recommend a list price, they tend to want to go over that because they feel like they need to leave room to negotiate. But to me, the better strategy is to price the house more competitively and be a little more aggressive, try to get a little more buzz going on the house, and maybe we can get some competition, possibly leading to a bidding war and maybe driving the price up a little bit. Because the bottom line is the more attention we can get for the house and the more people we can get through the door, the better chance we have of getting an offer that you're going to be happy with. So there's a fine line there. Everybody wants to get as much as you can when you're selling your house, but you have to be careful that you don't price your house at a point where you're deterring buyers from ever coming in the first place. The second mistake you want to avoid is not preparing your home properly. With the inventory being higher now, buyers can be picky again, and they are being picky. So the first impression that a buyer gets of your home is super important right now. And when I'm talking about first impression, I'm talking about the first impression they get when they see it online and the first impression they get when they pull up to the house to see it in person. Now on my end, we're going to have professional pictures done, we're going to do video, and we're going to have a description written up that really highlights all the features of the house. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do on your end so that we really get that good first impression and the buyer actually likes what they see when they're walking through your house. Now, everybody knows the big things that make a difference, like the paint, the flooring, making sure the house is decluttered, and making sure it's staged properly. But there are some little things that you can do that are either free or cost very little money that make a big difference when a buyer sees your house. Starting on the outside, the curb appeal is huge. So you want to make sure you've got fresh mulch, your weeds are pulled, the shrubs are trimmed, make sure the grass has been freshly cut and everything's edged and looking tight. Having the exterior of the house clean by pressure washing or a soft wash, whatever it needs, makes a huge difference. And if your roof has a little bit of age on it and it's got that mildew, a soft wash on your roof can go a long way into making it look brand new again. And inside the house, there are lots of little things you can do that go a long way. Replacing some of those old plumbing fixtures and some of the hardware in the house, and whether that's cabinet hardware or your towel racks, your toilet paper holders and things like that. And it's a super small thing, but it makes such a big difference. But just replacing those switch and outlet covers. If you've got maybe the old off-white yellowish looking covers and you can replace them with something bright and white, makes a huge difference. Something I did personally and I always recommend to buyers is that I went and replaced every single light bulb in my house with those 5000K daylight bulbs, because we want the house to be as bright as possible, and it made a huge difference in my listing photos and videos. I just think it makes a more pleasant experience for the buyer when everything's bright and they can really see. Even if you're not going to replace every light bulb in your house, make sure that the light bulbs you do have are all working. When you have a potential buyer walking through your house, you want them to have the feeling that everything has been well taken care of, and these little things and little upgrades that you can do that are very cheap can give off that impression that everything's been taken care of and that they're buying a good house. The third mistake you want to avoid falls more on your realtor that you choose to work with, but it's not highlighting the area that your house is in. The marketing behind your listing is super important, so of course you want to highlight and show off all the features of the house that you love and that a potential buyer might love. When a buyer's searching online, they're just scrolling and scrolling through houses, and they're looking at pictures, maybe they're watching your listing video, and they're browsing through your listing description. So obviously we want to make the house look as good as we can make it look, but that's not where it stops. What we really want to do is paint a full picture of exactly what it's like to live in the area. So maybe that means we're talking about the proximity of your house to some of the amenities that are surrounding the neighborhood, whether that's shopping, restaurants, or schools. For example, if you're within walking distance of the kids' schools, then maybe that's something we want to highlight. And maybe it's talking about the actual neighborhood itself or the HOA. So I've sold houses where the HOAs were very active, and that's something I wanted to impress upon potential buyers. Sometimes they would have concerts or they would have movie nights. They had holiday events where the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus would be there for the kids. And things like that may be the deciding factor for your potential buyer. Chances are when your buyer's just scrolling through properties, they're not stopping and doing the due diligence that they probably should be doing. So we want to serve it up to them on a silver platter and make it really easily digestible. And maybe that's the difference in someone choosing your listing over a similar property that they liked in a different subdivision. The fourth mistake you want to avoid is not getting the big picture. And when I say this, I'm referring to, okay, now we've got an offer or two on your property and it's time to review them. In almost every case when I tell a seller that I've received an offer, first thing they want to know is what's the price. Now I get it, the price is an important part of the offer, but it's not the entire picture. Right now our state contract is 10 pages and the purchase price takes up one line of that. So there are lots of other things that you need to consider when looking at the offer as a whole. Things like what kind of closing date are they asking for? Are they trying to do a quick close or do they need extra time? Do they have a house they need to sell before they can buy yours? Are they asking for help with closing costs? What type of financing are they using? Are they doing 100% financing or are they putting 20% down? Are they asking for any of your furniture or appliances that you planned on taking with you to your next house? Are they asking you to provide a home warranty? What's our inspection period look like? And are they going to ask for 30 cosmetic items or are they only asking for things that really matter? All these things play a factor in how good an actual offer is. And in a case where we have multiple offers, the highest price is not always the best. And one thing I like to do, whether we get one offer or multiples, is actually make a call to the buyer's lender. I want to hear from the lender themselves. Is the buyer solid? Have they verified their assets and income? If they're bringing money to closing, have they checked the bank statements to make sure that money's there? We want to know that the lender's done the work to know that the buyer can actually get to the closing table. Obviously, when we get to this point, I'll help you with all of this. I'll let you know how that conversation went with the lender, and we'll go through the contract, through the offer as a whole, and kind of see where you end up and see if it's something you're really happy with. And if you're not, we can always counteroffer. The fifth mistake you want to avoid is not having a good game plan or an exit strategy when it's time to actually move out of the house. So the first thing I would ask you is, what is your situation? Are you selling this house to move up or move down in a house and you're staying in the area? Are you moving out of state? Are you just gonna sell this house now and worry about the next one later? And depending on your situation, we really need to come up with a good game plan to get you out. So one thing I can tell you is that it can get pretty stressful as you approach your closing date, especially if you're putting things off to the last second. There are lots of moving parts and things to consider as that closing date gets near, so if you're not properly prepared, things can get pretty tough. And I can tell you from personal experience, when I sold my last house, and from what I've seen other clients do, that if you're trying to load your U-Haul truck the day of closing and finish up getting everything out of the house just to go straight to your closing and then just to go straight to your new house and start moving in, it can be pretty brutal. Ideally, you want to build yourself at least a couple days buffer to make sure everything's out of the house, whether you're moving yourself or whether you've got movers coming in and out. You give yourself time to get the house clean and get the grass cut and just get everything prepared for the new buyer. I always suggest that sellers, even just preparing to get your house for sale, rent a storage building and move everything that you don't need in the house out. For one, it just helps you get the house decluttered and ready for people to see it, but it also makes your move a little easier at the end. But we can do whatever we need to, whether that's renting a storage building or getting some pods and loading everything up in there so it can be stored away or delivered to your new house. If you only have a couple day buffer between houses, maybe you can stay in a hotel or stay with some family in between. But if it's a little more longer term situation and you need 30 or 45 days to find a new house, then we always have the option of short-term rentals like Airbnb or anything like that. But regardless of what your situation is or where you're going after you sell this house, you have to have a good game plan. And speaking of having a good game plan, if you want to get your house sold, the next thing you need to do is give me a call at the number that's popping up on your screen right now. I am a licensed realtor in the state of Louisiana, and I want to be your resource for all things real estate related. Whether you need to make a move right now or you're just thinking about doing something in the future, we can go ahead and get that conversation started, and there is 100% no pressure and no obligation. And guys, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these future videos where we're talking about moving to and living in the Greater Baton Rouge area. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one.